In 2024, I told myself I wanted to make comics again. I didn't care how I did it. I didn't care what kind, even if it was just one simple little comic. I wanted to do it. And I did. Now, I'm not a YouTuber or anything like that or anything crazy. I don't know if there's like any specific advice you should give when you're talking about art or anything. I just wanted to share what I did in my process, I guess. Um, because I don't know, I bought this $5 little microphone from Five Below, and I should use it, I guess. It's easy to talk about, oh, I want to make this, I want to make that, I want to make a comic. But the truth of the matter is that you literally won't get anywhere if you don't just make something. This is really hard to get through, but something that helps me is the quote, the time will pass anyways. I kind of apply that logic to when I'm making comics just because, like, what makes making things so daunting is the fact that this will take time. I want it to be done. I want to be good at it, like, right away. And you can't be good at it right away. I mean, some people are, but that doesn't necessarily change anything because you can be good at something, but you literally won't know unless you try. A lot of people really hope that when they make a comic or they finally make the thing they wanted to, that it's gonna get big super fast, it's gonna hit the freaking walls running or something, and that doesn't always happen. I mean, the reality is that most comics don't pick up traction until years later. So, I feel like the idea of that, the idea of it taking more time and the time passing anyways, that you still have time. So, like, start small, try doodling and then work your way up. Like, just build it up, like, from the very bare bones, like a staircase or something, you know what I mean? Start with small interactions, kissing, hugging, fighting, teasing, just doodle it out. And then when you add chat bubbles, you kind of have a little bit more of an interaction there. You know what I mean? A lot of comics have to start somewhere. Most of the time, it's with avoids and interactions. Don't worry so much about, like, oh, it needs to have a background, it needs to be elaborate, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, most artists like tend to cheat that anyway. So just start small. Doodle a character. Make them say something. Maybe add another character. Maybe make them shake hands, make them interact. Maybe you can add an object like tea or perfume or a toothbrush, toothpaste, things that you would do in your, normal day-to-day basis. Maybe add like a polka dot background or like waves to show like disappointment. And then maybe eventually an actual background to show that they're at the park. And then hey, ta-da, you just started like the stepping stones of how to start making comics. And sometimes if you just need help, you can kind of look to templates online to help you. I like to use knowyourmeme.com because if you type in redraw, then you'll find a ton of like little redraw memes that artists love to use, and you can definitely get some character dynamics down like that pretty easily. But you can also just like go on Pinterest and find some there as well. Or if you don't exactly want to do that, you can probably use pre-made panels. Try to fill them in with the limited amount that you're given and like figure something out with that. And then maybe that'll kind of give you the basis that you need to kind of move forward with figuring out how do I want to make panels, how do I thumbnail. Those are all really important things to learn to start making comics. All in all, try not to overthink it. Sometimes you just have to mess around and figure things out to get started. But if you want a more in-depth, like, I guess, thing, I can probably try to make something like that. I'm not exactly sure how to give one like that because I do kind of know like the typical process. My typical process is thumbnails, sketch, find the sketch, color it in, then I kind of go in with the backgrounds last just because I don't like drawing the full thing to make sure that they're interactable with the characters. Um, and yeah, like the thumbnails help with that as well. Um, that's a whole thing, but I do have a few full comics that I've made that I can probably show how I made it and whatnot. And that's not the point of this video though, but I don't mind doing that like another time because I really just want to talk about my comic, how I started, because I actually started in my sketchbook. I mostly wanted to focus on how I started which was in my sketchbook. And I know like our sketchbooks are pretty sacred when you're an artist, everything that you just don't want people to see is in there. And I kind of took advantage of that a little bit because I'm like, you know what? Ain't nobody gonna know that my whole comic started from my freaking sketchbook because no one's gonna see it. And yeah, so I started drawing like just stray interactions in my sketchbook, and then I would cut them up and splice them together through Procreate. I made full comics that way. I added shading with halftones, and then I just uploaded it. I didn't really expect anything, and I still don't because it still got like no views. But to be fair, I haven't uploaded anything to it. But what the views or anything like that doesn't matter. What matters is that I did it and I still put it out there, and it was so small and like it might seem small to me, but to someone else they haven't even started. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important to at least start, because it took me making those comics in my sketchbook, working on them on my iPad, to finally work up the courage to try and draw them on my iPad. So that's when I started, adjusting my process to start thumbnailing comics in my sketchbook and then redrawing them in my iPad. More refined, more like tasteful because, I have, so many brushes at my disposal and everything else. So, my comics got better with time. I added colors with them. I experimented with gradient maps, which I already knew how to use, but I never used them in my art like that. Um, I started making more comics. So they were all still like short, like really quick comics, but it kind of gave me the courage to make bigger ones. So in 2024, I managed to make a few bigger comics, which most of them were not safe for work, so I won't be sharing them. And I will advise that if you're not of age, try not to check for them either. If you would please, I would very much appreciate that. But the point is that I managed to make a 4-page comic, and then my longest comic from 2024 was, I believe it was 16 or 15 pages, not including like the disclaimers and everything else, which was a pretty good, huge accomplishment for me because before I couldn't even draw 1 page, and then all of a sudden now I'm drawing 4, 5, 6, 7 pages back to back of comics, and that's amazing because I started off so small, and I moved up, and I worked at it, and I got the confidence to make something bigger. And now in 2025, I have a Save for Work comic called Death's Requiem that is 19 pages long, but I think it's technically 21 with the extra, like, oh, this was not to be redistributed stuff, which is something you should probably add to your comics in the future when you get to that point. And another important thing about this is that the fact that I was able to get started, I got to work with other artists, and I got to do guest work for a creator called Dark Chibi Shadow, who's also a not safe for work creator. So just keep in mind that my content tends to veer towards adults. Um, but these are things that kind of kickstarted me into that direction. And I did actually start my main comic, which is called Shadows After Death, which is a sequel to the main first comic I made through my sketchbook, which is called Death Sleeping Beauty. So it's a sequel to Death Sleeping Beauty. And I only have one whole chapter done, but that's a whole chapter. And that's pretty impressive. And I would not have gotten to this point if I didn't just start. And that's what this whole video is kind of pushing you to do. If you're watching this, I'm basically telling you that you should just make your comic. Make a comic. Do something. Start somewhere. Start this year. Get somewhere and start this year. Um, yeah, I mean, I know I have to take a step back, and I think that's really important to recognize in yourself as well. If you know you're someone who doesn't have the time or the energy to be making full fledged comics like I used to be, because I used to have more free time, but I don't anymore. So, to still honor what I want to do, I'm just making it happen in a way that fits. So, some things that are important to know is your limit. You have to know when your limit is, and I know mine. That's why I cut back, and that's why I'm switching back to mini comics for my main comic. Because guess what? I still want to make stuff for that comic, and I know I can't be making full pages anymore, but I'm still gonna make comics for it. And I know that I'm not giving up on it either because I'm going to go back to it. So there's literally no shame in stopping, slowing down. Let's say you started your comic in color, or if you have a comics in color, then you're like, man, I'm juggling too many responsibilities, and then you start doing it in black and white. I started in black and white. There's no shame if I were to do that. I know a few artist friends of mine who wanted to make their comic in color. They did like the first few pages and said, hey, that's not gonna be like viable for what I'm doing right now. Let me just do it in black and white. People will still read it. People will still want to support you. And what's most important is that you want to do it. You still want to tell your story, and you still want to draw it, and you still want to make it. But you have to start. If you get anything from this video, I hope it's just that you start something. Even if it's just a doodle, even if it's just one character, 3/4 facing right with text, at something. It's a start. Then you draw that like 2, 3 more times and move forward. I I don't know. I'm not good at this whole talking to a freaking microphone on the desk thing. But yeah, I do want to make more videos this year. And even though I don't like to talk to the camera or anything, I'm putting in the effort and I'm just starting. So I hope you'll support this video and thank you.